this is one that's internally generated.
But it may be that the brain is a place where it becomes focused and concentrated. The brain may be as much a receiver of the signal as it is a generator of the signal. Nobody can really say, but that model in some ways appeals more to me than the notion that it's all coming from the brain. The brain is more like a node, and there's this sort of field of consciousness that permeates everything, and to a certain degree everything is conscious.
I think of the shaman as entering into this net of being in the higher worlds, in the heaven worlds, and that's why I've personified the net of being, this painting behind us, as this continuum of heads interlocking infinitely in all directions, because that points to being as a continuum, as a network, in a sense, to an infinite realm. And this is a part of the deep fabric of our being, I think, because we sense ourselves as souls related to many.
There is this everyday world, but you can be in a place where there is no you and still perceive the world. That scared me. Losing my ego was the scariest thing I ever, and I still don't like it.
A profound state which may be reached by use of these entheogens, psychedelics, hallucinogens, whatever you're going to call them, which is known as ego loss or ego death. Unfortunately, subsequent to the coinage of this term, ego has come to be used in a completely other sense. It has been used in the sense of pride, and that is not what ego death is about.
Ego death would mean you lose your sense of I for good, and that's not what happens. They mean a temporary suspension of the ego when ego death is spoken of.
Ego death means the death of you as a concept, whereas we walk around thinking of ourselves as things. We think of, I am sitting in the chair, therefore, I am a thing, the chair is a thing. When we reach the realm of ego death, or ego dissolution, or whatever you're going to call it, there is no longer any perceived boundary between oneself and the chair. In this state, there are no things. There is just one continuous experience.
In some sense, all of experience is an illusion. Everything that we experience in the here and now and our state of being is a hallucination, an elaborate hallucination that our brains construct. We happen to call it consensus reality. But it's still, physics tells us that, the picture of reality that we build so that we can navigate through the world and not step in front of buses and stuff like that and do all those, the world doesn't really look like this at all. The brain constructs a model of reality that more or less maps onto reality. It's good enough that we can survive.
But we're focused in a kind of, constricted dimensional awareness of reality. And, for safety reasons mostly, and we don't necessarily want to know that we are actual one consciousness with all beings and things at all times. So, nevertheless, those dimensions are all open to our being. We have a complete freedom of the continuum of being. If we change the nature, we have the model and we have the real world out here and we have the sensory neural interface that's taking this information in, interpreting it, and giving us the model. If we change the nature of the sensory neural interface a little or a lot, if we substitute, say, DMT for serotonin,
the model of the world that we get changes radically. And who's to say that that's any less valid than the model that, the brain constructs for, for everyday purposes. So this idea that, it's all illusion, it's all hallucination. That's what experience is, that's why, in some ways, I sometimes get a little impatient with people that say, well, a drug experience cannot possibly have any spiritual validity. Well, I'm here to tell you that all experience is a drug experience. We're all on drugs all the time, largely because we're made of drugs, and that's what drives us. Experience is, sort of the what issues out of this biochemical process of, all these neurotransmitters and hormones moving around our brain. It's drugs.
We've gotten very stuck on the idea that we're conscious and sentient and intelligent and have knowledge, and that nothing else in the world of nature really is like that. But actually, we're a very young experiment on the planet. We're a young species, and the plant world has been around for a really long time. The fungus world, even longer than that, and they've developed a symbiotic meshworks of species interrelationship, very complicated diplomacy, interspecies diplomacy, and it may be that certain plants have been kind of anointed or given the role to be the diplomats and the teachers who work with the human species to help us to see if we can evolve to be less destructive before we sort of just lose our shit and top off the biosphere.
Maybe the ubiquity of DMT is a signature of consciousness in nature, or nature sending a message to, the big brain stupid primates, wake up, look around, it's everywhere, mind is everywhere.
I think that their message is wake up, dummy, before you kill us all here, on one hand. And the other hand, they're saying wake up to your own divinity, wake up to your higher capacities.
So they're talking to us every day, which is true. But no, we're not listening, because it's like when you get up in the morning, you go straight to work, you work after your day, you get off, you go home, or you stop at the restaurant, eat a good meal, and you go home. That's it. You go to sleep. The next day you do the same thing. So to answer your question, herbs are spirits talking to us every day. Just be ready and to know what is it, what are they trying to tell me.
You have these experiences and you seem to have a communication, right? And very often they present themselves as an intelligence, something outside yourself, and you're communicating with it. You're having a dialogue or some feeling of, an other that you're interacting with. Whether it is a illusion or not, it's hard to. It's really hard to know.